I am at the joiner at this time. The planer and the joiner are pretty closely related. They have some common parts, in-feed table and an out-feed table. And then we have a cutter head right underneath here. This particular cutter head has 3 blades on it. That one has 3 blades on it. This is a cutter head guard. We have a fence over here on this side, and there's 3 different fence adjustment handles on the back side. I've moved the on-off switch up top so it's a little easier to get to. Down below the in-feed table is the in-feed table adjustment handle. Might be a little hard to see, but here's the in-feed table lock, and there's a depth of cut index on the in-feed table. On the out-feed table, we have an out-feed table adjustment and an out-feed table lock because we do need to be able to adjust both those tables. On the planer, we didn't have an out-feed table or an in-feed table lock. Those things just move together. Or sorry, they lock together actually. So with the jointer, this thing has one particular job. Where the planer was a surface planer and it worked on this part of the board, the jointer is an edge cutter. We're straightening out edges. This is probably going to be the first place you go, maybe after you go over to a crosscut saw and shorten your board if it's a rough cut. Then we're going to straighten out an edge. And to do that, we'll set it on the in-feed table, and we always feed it from the in-feed table to the out-feed table, and then we'll rotate it, just slide it across the cutter head, and what we'll do is straighten out this edge, get it nice and smooth. Again, just like the planer, the faster you go, the rougher your cut's going to be, so we want to go fairly slow, get it nice and smooth across there, get that nice and straight. Then we can go over to the table saw and take this edge and make this edge parallel to that edge, so we can have 2 parallel edges. This is one of our first steps to squaring our board, which is making 90-degree corners in all directions. So step 1 is going to be getting one edge straight, and then everybody's going to be parallel or perpendicular to that edge. So that's what the joiner does for us. How the joiner works, this cutter head and the outfeed table are on the exact same plane. So if you kind of imagine what's going on here, if this is my cutter head blade, my outfeed table needs to be on the exact same plane. So as the material comes across, it's going to get cut and slide directly across on here. My infeed table, and again, remember this is the blade, my infeed table is going to be lower than the blade. So my material will get cut, slide across. If we have our outfeed table is too low, we're going to cut a big notch on the back side. If it's too high, then we'll actually cut and hit it, and we won't cut, but we'll put a big notch on the front side. So we need to make sure that this adjustment is exact so that we're getting a nice straight cut across here. That is the reason we have adjustment on the outfeed table. Primarily the only time this will get moved is if the blades get dull or if I replace them or something like that, then I'll need to be able to adjust this outfeed table. The infeed table, its adjustment, kind of your numbers that you'll have to remember for this particular test is 1/8 of an inch, and that's the amount you can cut off of softwoods, and half of that is 1/16 of an inch. That's the amount you can cut off for hardwood. So oak, ash, walnut, 1/16 of an inch is the most you want to take off. Softwoods like this pine or cedar, you can take off as much as 1/8 of an inch. This is currently set for, I think, 3/32 seconds, which is a little bit less than a 1/16 of an inch, because we don't necessarily need to take a whole lot off because we can make multiple passes until we get that edge straight. So we have it set below the minimum depth, or minimum depth, sorry, because we can cut 1/8 of an inch as our maximum depth of cut. We usually not take that much off again because it makes a little rougher cut. When I'd like to show you how to operate this, what I try to do is just take my fingers and pull them up. My right hand thumb is going to be on top, my right hand index fingers curled up on the catch in the back. I do the same thing with my left hand, and that's going to hold it tight to the fence, tight to the table, and I slide them across. I want to use good footwork. I don't want to be crossing my feet. There is a kickback danger with this. If I were to just go to here and then let it go, it's going to go flying back, so you do not want to stand to the right of the machine or in the way of the infeed table. It will kick it out at you, so make sure no one's standing on that side of you as you're operating this machine. With that, always keep your fingers up. If you have a material that is less than 3 inches in width, that is this direction, we need to use a push stick. So anything less than 3 inches, we're going to come over to the table saw, and we're going to steal their push stick. And then we'll use a push stick instead of using our fingers. We'll keep our left hand up on top, and we'll use that push stick to push it across. So we use a push stick for anything less than 3 inches in width. And anything less than 10 inches in length. We will not use that in this machine. We need to make sure that we have material on both tables. So 10 inches in length is too short to keep material on both tables, and that's something we have to be careful of. So we want to have something longer than 10 inches in length. So numbers to remember. 1/8 of an inch is your maximum depth of cut. 3 inches is your minimum width before you need a push stick. And 10 inches in length is the minimum length you can have before you need to get a different board. So those are 3 numbers you need to remember for this particular machine. Again, with the parts, we have a base on the bottom, an out feed table adjustment, an out feed table lock, then we have our out feed table. This whole thing is the fence. We have 3 fence adjustment handles. On-off switch, cutter head guard, cutter head is on the inside. In-feed table adjustment, in-feed table lock, and then we have our depth of cut index down below. And that should get you past the jointer quiz.